Okay, we're back at InsurTech Hartford Symposium 2025, Hartford, Connecticut, the capital of insurance. I don't know if it's that anymore. It's still the capital of Connecticut. I gotta get a picture with the dome at some point. Who am I speaking with?
John Rusk.
John, who are you with?
ProSentry.
And what does ProSentry do?
ProSentry is risk mitigation as a service. So we provide a lot of risk mitigation devices, point of leak, water leak detectors, for instance, that we have figured out a way to get whole buildings, condos, co-ops, commercial buildings, to install them at every single location where there could have water leaks or other risks. And it's working amazingly right now.
So awesome topic. Is risk management as a service now RM, little a, S?
Exactly. We are, as far as we know, the first risk mitigation as a service company. We tried to trademark it. We don't know if we're going to get that. But yeah, that's what we figured out we are because somebody said, oh, you're risk mitigation as a service. And we went, you are right.
Okay, so I overheard a conversation you were having around water leakage is actually, the loss costs associated with water leakage are actually more significant than fire. Right, so generally the severity is not as big, but the frequency just is crazy compared to fire. So in the aggregate, water losses, interior water losses from old plumbing, a frozen pipe that burst, actually dwarfs fire. So I overheard that conversation around what it is that your solution does. Why don't we repeat that?
Okay, so as you are exactly accurate, every year who's on top, but generally non-weather related water loss is the number 1, 2, or 3 cause every year of the biggest losses for insurance companies. It creates terrible disruption for people's lives because your kid is studying to get their SAT tests and suddenly your upstairs neighbor leaked on you and now you've got to move out for 6 months and your kid hates you and they don't get into the school that you wanted and you want to sue the upstairs neighbor, but you have a non-subrogation deal in your condo, so you can't even sue them. It's a disaster. In apartment buildings, because we are not focused on the single-family market, we're focused on multi-tenant buildings, residential and commercial, those water losses go down through buildings, and frequently people aren't home, and so they don't notice the water loss. Which means that the flow-based water leak detection doesn't work very well in these situations because to try to figure out in a whole building if some extra water is being used, it doesn't really work. It can work in a single-family house, but not in an apartment building. So the only way to catch those leaks is what's called point of leak water leak detection. Okay. The only way you could ever get that to work in multi-tenant buildings is to make it so attractive and so inexpensive that buildings would say, okay, let's install this. And so that's where we are right now.
Yeah, the severity of those leaks could be massive because you could have a 10-story tower. If the 10th story leaks, I live in Florida, so I'm thinking, the summertime when everybody leaves, the windows are all boarded up, and the 10th story leaks, but there's no one on the 9th floor,
exactly.
No one on the 8th floor, 7, 6, God help them if the water gets all the way down to the lobby. Now you have 10 stories of water losses that could make it catastrophic.
Absolutely. So what do we need to solve this problem? Robots. And what is the robot in this case? This little thing that looks like a popsicle stick. I'll hold it a little closer, about the size of a popsicle stick. This little device has a 10-year battery life. It connects to a thing called a gateway over a protocol called LoRaWAN, which means that it's not Wi-Fi, much more reliable, much more energy efficient. That's why it has a 10-year battery. So this little device gets installed at point of leak. So behind toilets, fits very neatly. It fits under sinks, it fits under dishwashers, ice makers, all those places where they would have leaks. We have other sensors that can fit, for instance, around a fan coil unit, air conditioning equipment. These devices check in 4 times a day with temperature, and some of them also do humidity. They sit there. If somebody takes off the device or disables it or it goes bad, we let the shareholder know, or the building know. But the amazing thing is, as soon as water leak starts, within 15 seconds, we've sent a text to the property management staff, but most importantly, within a minute, we are live calling the front desk of the building and saying, there's a water leak at the dishwasher in apartment 21J. This lets the building run upstairs, turn off the water, wipe it up with a paper towel, no loss. Sounds great. Here's the proof. In 2024, in New York and New Jersey, we caught 3,610 leaks. Of those, 0 were false alarms and 0 became insurance claims.
Wow. So that's an amazing statistic, and I think that goes to show like the ROI on this. To give the audience a flavor, I was a beta tester for a system for a company that no longer exists that was attempting to do this, probably too soon.
Yeah, exactly.
So this was before COVID, and I volunteered. I'm like, okay, this will be cool. I remember it was not a stick, but a puck.
Right.
I put one behind near my shower and toilet in my upstairs bathroom, and one on the downstairs sink, and I got no messages. And I'm like, does this thing even work? So I remember walking to the one upstairs. It was right next to my office. I picked up the puck, I licked my finger, and I touched the sensor on it. And a couple minutes later, I got a text message. Humidity detected. Now,
okay.
What that did, and I think what's important here, is I immediately got a sense of relief. I got a sense of, okay, I know this thing works, but I got a sense of, okay, I got this robot, this device, it's watching my back.
Yeah,
okay?
that's a nice way to say it, yeah.
Okay, but I think more importantly, I'm an insurance professional, so I started to put an insurance context to it. And I said, oh, if this is attached to an insurance policy, what is one of the biggest problems policyholders have is, I pay premium. Are you going to be there when I need you? Am I getting my money's worth? I connected the dots and said, any insurer that is in this business here and using these devices, they're essentially allowing their customers to sleep at night and giving the customers a sense of, I'm getting what I paid for. I'm getting some value.
The amazing thing of it is, the insurance companies are in the business of having to pay out money when there's a loss. But quite frankly, you as a customer don't really want to use that aspect of the insurance company. You don't want a loss.
It's one thing I say, like the policyholder and the insurance company actually both want the same thing.
No loss.
No one wants damage.
Right.
So if you can prevent that, then you're actually satisfying both parties of the transaction.
That is the amazing thing, and that's what we've tried to build with this company, and we're succeeding. What happened, I had a massive water loss at my house, upstate New York, in 2019. Chubb Insurance introduced me to the artificial intelligence automatic water shutoff valve. I've had a construction company in New York City for 39 years. I looked at this and said, wait, wireless water leak detectors? This could be an amazing company. So I started thinking about, could I set up a system for whole buildings? I then, as luck would have it, our third-party risk manager understood what I was trying to do and sat me next to the head of Chubb's War on Water at the American Songbook Gala in 2019. And rather than watching anything about the awardees, we talked water leak detection the whole night, because Chubb Insurance had connections to these single house water leak detectors like you had, but they hadn't been able to make any penetration into the condo and co-op market because they couldn't come up with a way to get to the boards. I have taught at Columbia University for the last 15 years. I've had many of those board members and property managers into my class to guest lecture, and I said, I can talk to those people. So Chubb has been working with us since 2020, developing how our system would work. We are now approved by Chubb. They've vetted us fully. And in fact, in New York State, typically they only give a 3% discount for a water leak detection system. They give an additional 5% if you have automatic valves. We said in multi-tenant, you can put in automatic valves, there's too many valves, but by calling the front desk, it's just as effective. They said, prove it. We just caught those 3,610 leaks with no insurance claims. They went, this does work. So they applied to the state, and now there's an 8% discount in New York State for their clients who live in buildings that have a full ProSentry system through the whole building.
Yeah. I was thinking, like, why didn't commercial structures or condo towers have the automatic shutoff? I never thought about just the volume of water that goes through, it makes it almost impossible.
Well, you wouldn't churn off the water to the whole building because there's a leak at a toilet. But if you tried to get each bathroom, you'd have to have a hot valve, a cold valve, 2 bathrooms worth, and a kitchen. It's too many valves.
It also creates issues with, I guess, with the sprinkler system potentially.
Probably not. The sprinkler is typically a different water feed. For some buildings, it does work well because some buildings are built with a single water feed into a hot water heater for each apartment. So you can put a valve on that single feed. But for much of the buildings already built, they have multiple risers coming into each bathroom and the kitchen.
Yeah. So you talked about water detection devices. I feel like we're in a really good area with telematics, like where the auto device was about 10 years ago. I feel like the technology's here.
Yes,
right.
absolutely.
This is really an adoption thing. We need improvement in the technology and adoption. But there are other devices. Like we're talking the ability to fire. I was even talking to an apartment complex risk management software company who was saying they can track the pool gate, who's going in, who's going out, types of thing. What are the? Give us a glimpse of the future here.
The beautiful thing is it's not the future, it's at ProSentry right now. So our job was to try to convince whole buildings to put in water leak detection on every floor. We're a B2B. We don't go directly to the client. We want the whole building to put it in and pay for it. The only way the building is going to do it is to save some money on insurance. Cool. So we're getting discounts from the carriers. A building that has water leak and temperature detection, low temperature detection at every apartment is a lower risk, so it's going to be underwritten at a lower cost. But for the building, is there anything else you can do that makes me want to choose ProSentry? So we have gas leak detectors that can tell the building as soon as the gas leak starts. So if the nice person who's got some memory issues goes to light their stove, but it doesn't actually light, and they sit down and watch TV, we're going to call the building and say, there's a gas leak in apartment 21J. It's at the stove, so staff can get up there. We have detectors for oil leaks. We have detectors for people smoking and vaping where they're not supposed to. We can catch mice incredibly effectively. We can tell you if an exhaust fan has stopped working on the roof. We can tell you if somebody's propped a door ajar. We can tell you if a sump pump is backing up or a rooftop drain is packed up in a hurricane with leaves and now the water's going to come into the building. We have lots of different solutions as well as valves ranging from 3/4 inch to 10 inch. So we're really a system for the whole building to say, yes, we will put this into place on the whole building because it saves us all kinds of trouble.
Okay. 2 devices, frozen pipe detection in northern latitudes?
Yeah, absolutely. So all of our water leak detectors, we insist also do temperature detection. So in a building, a co-op in New York City, they had a couple of big losses. Their insurance broker encouraged them to put in a ProSentry system. They did that. They saved $300,000 on their underlying commercial property. Great. He called me in January and said, "Did you hear what just happened, John?" And I said, "No." On one of those 15-degree days, ProSentry suddenly called me because one of my apartments was 48 degrees. And the property super said, I started to have a panic attack because if I have another pipe froze, I'm going to lose my insurance. And he's running upstairs and he goes, "Wait, that's why we got ProSentry and they're calling me at 48 degrees. Got to the apartment, a realtor had shown the apartment, went out on the terrace, didn't latch it, door blew open. It was freezy cold, but he just shut the door, went back downstairs and finished his coffee.
That must give them a whole sense of you can sleep at night.
Exactly.
With stuff like that. So the second sensor, living in Florida, I'm constantly in pools. Could you get a sensor that can tell if someone peed in it?
Yeah. Now, the interesting thing about my life, we are a non-proprietary, hardware-agnostic company.
Okay.
So if we all of a sudden raise up costs or give bad service, you can take our sensors that are all on the LoRa Alliance platform and switch them over to somebody else. Because we're hardware-agnostic, I'm not a manufacturer. I don't go, ugh, it would cost me so much to develop a P sensor technology, I couldn't sell enough. But for us, I can look out in the world and see, and there are sensors for smell. So P is an ammonia smell, so potentially I could find a sensor that would then figure that out and let you know if the pool started to smell.
Okay, there you go. Innovation. Right here.
right now at InsurTech 2025.
I want to end with one additional question, because you said you've been in the construction business for a while, but you also teach at Columbia. Give us a little bit of your background.
So I grew up in Missoula, Montana, the youngest of four brothers who were illegal street racers, but
Did you say illegal?
Yeah, illegal street racers, but we also all won the same National Merit Scholarship. So we were smart guys who would try to talk ourselves out of tickets when the cops came. So I was a mechanic from a very early age. I moved to New York City. I was a bicycle messenger, started a construction company, and that's been running for the last 39 years. We worked at the very highest level. And so I've had this very interesting life. I've taught at Columbia for the last 15 years. I just turned that class over to my employees.
What subject?
Residential project management.
Okay, there you go. It's funny how many people end up in insurance, because we'll take everybody, because it's a huge problem. Thank you so much.
It's been great. Thank you so much. This is fun.